We are so grateful for this wonderful opportunity from Radio 16. We always are willing to share our story, the story of our families here in Aldine ISD. And also, it's my pleasure to share this morning with my colleague and friend, Dr. Adela Flores. Adela?
Good morning, everyone. It is certainly an honor to be here and to bring our district's story to you. I am honored to be here. You have Mr. Ivan Tamayo. He is family and community engagement specialist with many, many, many years of experience, everything from a principal and now in this opportunity to reach out and continue to build our community with the families. I am honored to partner in this with him.
And Adela, could you share your role here in Aldine?
Absolutely. I am a district literacy coach, and so everything from supporting our teachers, but also I am currently an ESL I would say online. Yeah, online teacher for our community as well. So I do virtual classes for our parents. I have registration is over 100 participants, and we have split those up into two groups. So we have intermediate and we have beginners, and they are currently thriving in our online sessions.
So that's one of the reasons why I invite Dr. Flores to join us this morning, because she is leading one of our programs here in the family community engagement department, and in this program in specific about the University for Parents. So we are going to go ahead and start. First of all, I need to, Adela mentioned that I'm a specialist, family community engagement specialist. We are not an expert in family engagements, but we love what we do. We love our families and the communities they represent. That's why we are here, and that's why we want to share our practices.
Absolutely.
Adela?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And so this is going to lead us into a reflective question. But before I pose that question to you, I invite you to reflect on the demographics that you are familiar with for your district as we think about the ones that we have for our district. So I won't read verbatim for you, but I do want you to glance at the screen. I do want you to look at the approximate enrollment that we have, which is 58,000 students. Of those 58,000 students, you see that 92% of those are at an economic disadvantage. And of those, 48% of our population, almost 50%, is emergent bilinguals. So when you go back to our total enrollment, I'm not the math expert here, but half of that number, that's going to be 27,000 students. And so we have a large population. Why it matters to us to be aware of that number, it's because we need to know the community that we are serving. We need to know their cultural backgrounds. We need to know the languages that they speak. And if you look over, we have over 61 languages in our district. 61 is a lot. How many languages do we speak ourselves? 2, maybe 3. But of those 61 languages, we know that Spanish speakers for Spanish is the one that takes the largest percentage of those languages. So in learning about our demographics, we also become aware of their needs, and that helps us to better serve our community, and also better helps us to meet the needs of our population. So as you can see on the screen, I've heard someone say something about the airport. I am terrible with navigational skills. I get lost in my own neighborhood sometimes. So it's really difficult for me to read the map. But if you look at the red area, that is where we are. Aldine is its own community. And as we click on next, we do begin to see the question that I am posing for you. So how do your demographics of your participants in your family engagement practices influence the outcomes? How do you know the effectiveness? How do we prepare for the effectiveness of the impact and of our initiatives? So just a question for you to pose for yourselves as you think about your district's demographic. And with
And as
that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, as Adela mentioned, it is just a reflective question for you guys to start thinking about, to take your notes. We are not intent to change your practices at any way. So we're just trying to show you what we're doing here and to invite you to reflect about your own practices. So here in the Family and Community Engagement Department, all our activities and goals and our plans encompass in three single words: empower, engage, and lead. So we really try and we really work with that in mind, and we try to empower our families to become advocates of their children. So that's our goal, that's our purpose, to empower, engage, and lead our families to become advocates of their families. But we go beyond. That's what the title of our presentation mentioned, the word beyond. We try to go beyond that. And we said we try to make them advocates of the children and also advocates of themselves. I was reflecting about the section 1116 of the Every Student Act, and the first paragraph of the act mentioned about building capacity for involvement. So when you start reading that part, it said building capacity for involvement, and in the next paragraph, you have the opportunity to read this act later. In the next paragraph, it said effective involvement. So when we're talking about, and that effective needs to be highlighted, because that's effective involvement is that it turns into engage. Effective involvement is engage families. And how do we engage families? To give them the capacity to advocate for the children, but not only for the children, but for themselves. And to drive our activities, to drive our actions, we have right here this model that is like a wheel that we try to operate on daily basis. It doesn't have like a starting point, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we go first number 1, then number 2, then number 3. No, that doesn't work in that way, because I remember that family engagements are practices. They are not activities. If they were activities, they follow a pattern. Activity number 1, activity number 2, activity number 3. But family engagement is a practice. It's a continuing, ongoing practice. So it moves from different ways. So sometimes you need to readjust, you need to redirect, like Dr. Flores was talking about the GPS. And when you make something wrong, the GPS says redirect. So you need to change the route, right? So that's what we do right here. But something that we're really conscious about is to engage our all internal stakeholders, because there's something we cannot do by ourselves. I'm pretty sure that in your departments, in your school district, family engagement department is a very small unit. The same happened here in Aldine. We are a small unit, even though we have one representative in every single school. By the way, we didn't mention that we have 81 schools. In every single school, we have one representative of the family, our department. So that makes it could be like a huge department, but in fact, the central office has a very small unit of people. By the way, most of my colleagues are here in this call, so you're gonna hear them cheering. It's because they are here in this call. So we cannot do it by ourselves. So we need to integrate all people in our district. So in every single activity, in every single practice, we try to invite them to integrate, to make them understand how important it is to work collaboratively for our families, that is going to impact the results in our kids. So that's what we try to do. And when we are trying to address the family's needs, we need to go outside our comfort zone, because it's our comfort zone is working with the people that we have here in our district because we know them. We have created some kind of relationship, but sometimes we need to go outside our comfort zone and look for our community. And why? Because the community knows our needs. So we need to engage our external stakeholders as well. Um, Another thing which is really crucial in our practices is the feedback. We need to receive feedback, not just only from parents, but also from our leaders, from our teachers, from the community, from our business partners. We work with the feedback of them. So the feedback in every single one of our practice is so important. And we need to build that capacity for them to lead the activities, to lead the practice, and finally, our ultimate goal is to empower our stakeholders. And here's what is coming, this program that is called Family and Community University. So Family Community University is not an isolated program from family engagement. It's a product from the family engagement. So the same goals, empower, lead, empower, and I forgot the other one, is attached to the program, the family and community engagement. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you a short video of our family community engagement. And we always said that every single effort from our parents needs to be recognized. So every single time that we meet with them, we recognize them, we recognize, we celebrate their accomplishments. When they contact us and let us know something that is happening at home, something positive or negative, we try to recognize them. We try to recognize their efforts, their challenge. We encourage them because that's what we're trying to do in a way to celebrate them. So this is a celebration that we create at the end of the school year with all the parents who complete our programs. We have different programs I'm going to mention in this presentation, but short video right now.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I am celebrating that I'm graduating from the ESSA program, an English program. I need to say thank you for the Aldine District School to Mr. Tamayo, and I'm celebrating. I'm a witness about this excellent program that the school district provides to the people. Thank you.
My name is Joel. I'm a facilitator for the Cooking Up with Health series, and I want to share that my experience in this program has been wonderful. I think it's a testament of the dedication of heads of family, heads of household, and their wishes to become better personally, professionally, in their personal lives, in their health-wise, in their education. I think it speaks to how much force the community has, and I think that it's a great support for the children because they're growing up seeing that their parents are trying to make a better person out of themselves in health, in their well-being, in their economy, in their education. And it's a great motivator. Whenever people speak about grassroots interventions and reaching out to the community, I think this is a prime example of that.
I forgot to mention that this program, we are going for our 4th year with this program. This was our last graduation ceremony last year, and every single year we graduate a good number of parents. Last year we graduated about 360 parents from the program, which means they didn't complete a certain number of credits, which are classes that they're taking in different programs here. But I think the pillar of this program are the relationships that we are building. If we are not able to build relationships, it doesn't work. So one of the pillars of the family engagement practices are the relationships. So when you try to really connect the family with the school, the only way to do it is by creating good rapport with the families. Effective practices in family engagement talk about that, creating those relationships. That's when you connect with the families, when you connect with the community, when you build the capacity and you connect with them through strong relationships. Adela.
Absolutely. So there is a little bit of Freire, which is a theory about maps. And here you can see someone engaging with a static map. We'll share a little bit more about traveling without maps. But here the question comes about what we have done in the past. So if we think back to 2005, we see here what family engagement looked like. So asking teachers what it looked like for them in 2005, of course, they're going to tell you meet the teacher, open house for the fall, and sometimes also in the spring, they have winter programs. They have donuts with dad and muffins with mom, or some version of those. They have math night, they have science night, and then, of course, they have conferences as needed. And if you reach out to a teacher, ask about what the engagement is, they may not be listed in the exact same order, but they are almost identical. The verbiage might be a little different, but the surprising response is that we have the exact same things: muffins with mom, donuts with dad, meet the teacher, conferences as needed. And then you think, well, what, anything different? And it may be that they are now able to present the information via a QR code or via a dojo or class reminder, some platform that may be different, but the events are the same. And so when you think about what has changed in those 20 years, not a lot has changed. What about the needs of the parents? Have those changed? So if we think about meeting the needs, we do have to think about what we are doing to meet the needs. So here, just a little timeline of what it looked like. And if you look back at the timeline in the 1900s, PTA, open house, maybe a children's performance, maybe a mom's little recognition or program. 1950, same PTA, open house, some kind of teacher conference, school plays. Look at 2000s, you still see the open house, the family nights, the teacher conference, the PTA. Fast forward to 2024, same open house, meet the teacher. What do you think? If we had to fill in the blank for 2050, what do you anticipate is it going to look like in another 25 years? Are we going to fill in those same blanks? Food for thought.
So here's where it comes in, the traveling without maps. So the previous activities and Adela mentioned the events or activities, which is not engagement, is not effective practices of involvement. When we work on those all the time, we are traveling with maps because they are there. They're in a document, they're history. They have been for 100 years. So they are in a template. But when you start moving without map, that's a theory from Freire, and there's a research practice. When you are trying to move without maps, you face different challenges. And the first challenge is to think about if there's something that have changed for the last 100 years. So think about it. So when we talk about the timeline that Ella showed you, it's coming from the 100 years and we see the same activities. Yeah, because they are activities, they are events, right? But the population, the communities are totally different. Are totally in these 100 years, the people is different. We have diversity now in our communities. Technology is a huge difference now. So we never used the technology as it was used in the past, right? Everybody agree with this statement. The technology is a revolutionary concept that came to education, and some of us were not prepared for this. However, our activities or events for families still using all practices, and we are not considering the change of the technology. Generations. If we say the communities are changed, generations are totally different, totally different. And think about this. This is another reflection question. And we mentioned at the beginning that this is a presentation for you guys to reflect about your practices. So we show in the timeline activities or event that happened in 100 years ago. So we're talking about probably right here, the greatest generation, right here. So these activities were created in this generation, or probably here in the silent generation, some of them in the silent generation, between this, the green and the blue, right? And now think about this. At least in our district, most of our parents are in this generation, Generation Z. And of course, we have a lot of millennials. So our parents are here, and we are using events that were used right here. Is that congruent? So when we're using activities and events that were created in 100 years, trying to reach these generations that have totally, totally different perspectives about life, is that make sense for you? So I have the opportunity to teach a class at Lone Star College. Lone Star College, for those of you that are not from Houston, is one of our community college. I think the best community college here in Houston. And we, as a part of our certification as a college teacher, we need to take a certification on generations. If we spend 48 hours of our weekends learning about generations, right? Different generations, the way they learn. And I have been witness when I'm teaching the students at the college, when I put something on the board in the you project some information, I say, please copy this in your journals. They don't have journals. They don't use the pen. They grab their cell phone. Some of them grab their cell phone and take a picture. I say, hey guys, please take your journals and write it down for me. Nobody do it. Nobody do it. Why? Because they are in this generation. In this generation, which is totally different. They're used to the cell phone. They get information right here. Some of them just get information in their heads. If it's useful for them, they're gonna keep them here. It's not useful for them, they're gonna ignore the information. So if why we as a teacher have to spend 40 something hours to adapt our teaching strategies to address the needs of the students in these generations, but we are not doing to address the needs of our families. We are still with the same practices that were used 100 years ago. I remember those are not practices, so they are events, activities, and events and activities, they are not engagement. Another huge chain is social media. Social media is a huge event, like technology, is part of the technology, right? So parents now they are in social media. If we really want to engage them, we need to engage them through social media as well. So we need to consider that as a part of our planning, our ways or strategies to engage families, the use of social media. Communities are totally different right now. So in the past, may exist these communities, but they were not open. Now they are open. So how do we address these communities? And there's a lot of research about that. And climate change, that's different, right? Environment is different. Our planet is different. The planet that we had 100 years ago, the needs that our communities had 100 years ago, now are they totally different? Are we consider that when we are working in our programs, in our plannings, in our activities? Are we really consider that part? Mental health. Mental health is crucial. I'm not sure about your communities, but in our community, is so needed. The information is so needed. So if really want our kids to be successful, we need to work very hard as a team in these topics, to work with the families on these topics, to make the kids, to impact the kids in the classrooms. Pandemics. Something about the pandemics I learned, and I always mention about the pandemic, is that when we had the pandemic, one positive thing that it moved everybody, it moved us, all educators, to move from our comfort zone. And we need to recreate ourselves, to create something different, to reach our students, to reach our communities. I remember I was an assistant principal in that time, and I remember how our teachers were so creative in putting their interactive classrooms in the website, and there was a interactive communication. I was totally surprised about seeing my teachers, how they learn different things and they use it. But what's happening, and even us as an administrator, we need to move to electronic files, electronic ways to do it. Instead of using folders and papers and papers and papers, we have to transfer everything to electronic files and platforms and everything. But what's happening after the COVID? And we came to the regular business. So we went back to our comfort zone. Why? Because it's our comfort zone. Instead of moving forward, instead of doing something different, we went back to the 100 family practices. So something to think about it. So if we already learned how to do things different, why we're not doing? So when I think about the navigating without maps, moving on from traditional practices, I think about this iceberg map. On the top of the iceberg, which is the part that you see, which is our comfort zone, is the navigated without maps. And Adela, please, at any time, feel free to.
Yes, now you.
Please. On the top is the navigated with maps, and we already talked about what is navigated with maps, the activities, the traditions, whatever is there. Under the iceberg, the cold waters, the dark, the difficulties that without maps. So sometimes it's easy for us. I have some examples right here. It's easy for us to move right here. Why? Because it's our comfort zone. So if you're thinking about in the movie of Titanic with DiCaprio, and when they crash with the iceberg, if they would have a cell phone, what would we do it? They take a selfie, right? They should take a selfie when they crash with the iceberg. So the same thing's happening here. This is our picture activities, right? So this is activities for the picture. So they are
fun things at the top. Those are the funs. And as you look at the bottom, those are the difficult conversations. Those are the ones that make you uncomfortable if you start talking about some of those social and the mental issues, or if you give the community an agenda and let them bring an agenda to you for your PTO meeting. So that's uncomfortable. You want to know what topics are going to be talked about during this time. You don't want to give the parents complete and total control. You don't want to talk about some of those difficult relationships. So everything that we see at the bottom of that iceberg, those are those things that cause discomfort, but they really need to be dug into just a little, instead of just like, as Mr. Tamayo was saying, the fun picture, the selfie, and the ones that you have at the top. Absolutely.
Right. If you see right here on the bottom, at the very bottom is relationships, because sometimes it's hard to build relationships with the community, but we are in that practice. Everybody here in this call, we are in that practice to build relationships, but it's on the bottom. So this one should be on the top. The engagement should be on the top. It's involvement, but not effective involvement. As I always forget the name, every student success ad, it mentions about effective involvement. So we need to start moving from these activities to activities generate transformation, movement, action. So we need to see that in our practices. And all these practices impact directly, not just in the family, but in the student's achievement as well. These practices regularly, they don't impact student achievement. So we need to evaluate that. Our traditional practices, are they really affecting or impacting the academic success of our students, or we need to move forward to those activities? Okay, so talking about the university, I want to show you very quick, guys, how our university looks like. So we have everything in a particular website. So where parents that they go right there, and they can select English or Spanish, and when they select English or Spanish, they can go to our three options, which are in-person classes, virtual classes, or pre-recorded classes. So our in-person classes, we only have two. Yeah, actually it's one program. We call that program the Pathway to Become Bilingual. So we don't call ESL class, we call the Pathway to Become Bilingual, because that's something that we always stress in our parents, that you are becoming bilingual. The fact that you're learning a second language is going to make you a bilingual person. So that's the name of our program. And also, in addition to the ESL classes that we have right here, we have Spanish conversation classes for our community. Because at least in Houston, and I think this overall in Texas, there's a need, a huge need for our communities to learn Spanish. It's not just to learn English, but learn Spanish. And the testament of that is that this last October, September, that we opened registration for the Spanish conversation class, we have a huge number of parents who register for that class. So yeah, so that's the two classes that we have in person. Virtual, we have all our workshops. Regularly, that happens 2 or 3 times during the week. In the mornings, we have two sessions, 9 o'clock English, 11 o'clock Spanish. So parents come in here and they select the class they want to register. Most of our classes are oriented to teach parents what is happening at the school. So like this one, choice schools in Aldine, middle schools. So most of the parents say, oh, I didn't know that we have choice schools. And I didn't know that my kid is going to move to middle school and they have the opportunity. So we need to teach them. We need to teach them how it looks like and what is the benefit of middle school. As we say, we address the needs of our community as well. So we have topics like violence, domestic violence, because one of the interests is to work in the mental health of our community. It's choice schools, choice schools. We have a lot of choice schools. We also very interested in giving tools for uh, be able to control their finance. So we talk about budgeting, how to bridge the world's understanding the school culture and navigate it. So this class was so important, and I was provided for Patricia Valenzuela. I heard that it was mentioned in the morning that she's having a presentation is coming. A presentation is coming from her. So he came with a wonderful presentation about understanding the culture of the schools. And that's happening to me, guys, when I came here as an immigrant. I didn't know anything about the school system. So it was a difficult for me to understand the system. So we don't really want that. We have families that they are on that process to trying to understand, and they miss opportunities for their kids. So we talk about safety for kids, maximizing your hack account after the annual update. I'm not sure you guys, but here in Aldine, all our students' information, records, grades, attendance, everything, it goes to a platform called Hack Home Access Center, where parents, they need to access, update their information annually, but also it's a powerful tool for parents to learn about what is happening with their kids in their classroom. But most of our parents, we realize that most of our parents only open their accounts once a year when they need to update it. And that's because we are calling every single time, hey, did you update it? Did you update it? Did you update it? But after that, they are not using. So we open this class for them, how to maximize your hack, how to learn more about the hack. So basically, I just want to show you very quick some of the classes, connected school support at home. So most of our classes talk about that. So how important it is for parents to understand that relationship. We try to close the gap between the school and the home and the school. But we cannot close the gap, guys. Put it down in your notes. We cannot close this gap if we don't create strong relationships. That's the most important piece here. Create a strong relationship. So today we're going to talk very quick about 3 of our programs. And we selected this because they are my favorites. No, because they are very effective on creating relationships, work with the parents, and also help them to have those communication with the students and just be working with the students at home. So the first one I'm going to talk about is critical literacy. The second is cooking up with health. And the last one, I already mentioned, the pathway to become bilingual. So critical literacy, and if you go to Aldine ISD, yesterday it was published in our district, the news story about our reading club with parents, with basically is critical literacy. So at the beginning, this reading club with parents, it came with the idea of teaching them reading strategies, how to summarize, how to find the main character, how to identify the plot of the story, fiction and not fiction. So that was the purpose. And actually, we start with a very simple book. So, but as soon as we start working with the parents and they start getting engaged with the readings, we start moving from that level. So it was like start thinking critically and help them to start thinking critically. Now it's amazing. We have 3 years. We go for our 4th year with the reading club with parents. And here's a part of our group. They're showing when we finished the book, farm worker to astronaut, from Jose Hernandez, the astronaut. We had this celebration, virtual celebration, where all the family was showing the book, and we had a very good moment. But that year, this happening on, I don't remember, April, March, something like that, last year, 2 years ago. And then during the new school year, I didn't know that our district invite Jose Hernandez to be the keynote speaker in our convocation in the district. So it was a nice moment because I invited some parents. They came with the book. Unfortunately, they cannot meet the astronaut because, in a convocation, at least here in Aldine, in the past, we gather in a stadium with all the schools. So there's a huge crowd right there. So it was a kind of chaotic, but I was able to get the autograph from him in our books, in one of our parents' books. And he wrote something very personal. I don't know if you can see it, but he said, para Iván y los de más allá de las letras se vale soñar. So for Ivan and for the reading club, that's the name of the reading club, más allá de las letras. It's valid to dream big, something like that. So it was a nice experience. And when I shared this with the parents, they were so happy to learn that the Jose Hernandez, he was sending a message to the group. So I'm going to show you very quick a video of our reading club, just for you guys to understand what is the concept, because we said that our group, our reading club, is not a leisure activity, but a time to discover our community. That was true, because in this time that we gathered together, when we start together and analyzing books, we get knowledge of our community, also to honor its traditions and to heal old wounds. Let me show you very quick the video.
Me gusta mucho. Cuando estoy aquí me llena de todo. me enriquece muchísimo, me hace ver las cosas de manera diferente.
Yo le quiero agradecer también por este club, por la oportunidad que tenemos todas de poder compartir nuestro punto de vista de cada lectura. Cada una tiene su vista acerca de lo que lee y podemos enriquecernos de estos puntos de vista que cada uno da.
De verdad es que yo creo que a veces estamos tan en el día a día que olvidamos meternos y olvidamos enfocarnos en ciertas partes. Y de repente cuando escucho de aquel lado la otra versión o la otra forma de leerlo, de interpretarlo, digo, claro, me abre una perspectiva diferente.
The reading club in itself, to me, was very inspiring. And so I got very inspired by all of these different elements of reading, so I got into the reading.
Yo estoy muy agradecida por este club. Han sido 2 años de estar juntos leyendo y a mí me ha encantado.
Every week after we have had our book reading club, I have been telling people, you need to read this book. You need to read this book. I think this book is my life.
Hay cosas de que todos los temas que toca el libro, yo creo que son problemas sociales y comunitarios que podemos ver en nuestro pueblo. Todo lo que se habla aquí lo podemos ver en la comunidad, inclusive en la familia. A mí me gustó mucho, porque también abre la puerta a las conversaciones.
This reading club has really fulfilled me. I was feeling a little lost personally, and I, now I feel part of a group, part of a family. I feel like you guys are my friends.
By Grace, I'll give you my address so you can come read good night to me.
Yes.
She is a very good reader. Yes. Very good. Yes.
This practice, the reading club, it not just the opportunity to discover our community, to honor the traditions, or to heal all wounds, but also a huge opportunity to build relationships. Remember, if we really want to close the gap between school and the home, we need to build strong relationships. And this practice helped us to create strong relationships with the families. This is the literature that we have analyzed in our reading club. So we mentioned that we go first to connect with the text. We connect with the text first, and then we connect with the world. So as you mentioned, and you heard in the video, some of the parents said, we discover our community because there are issues in our community. Through the book, through the reading, through the analysis, we discover or we find similarities with our community. So those connections are really important. So at the beginning, we start with a very simple, as I mentioned, it was just like, let's teach them what is the summary, what is the main character. So we start with very, I don't want to say very simple, but easy books for reading because it was kid books. So we start with this Granny Thoroughly Makes Soup for the English group because we have English speakers group session, and then we transition to the Spanish parents group. These are evening class. So that's something you need to consider when you work in your practices. What is the best time for the parents to meet for this kind of activity? So this is an evening class. So then we moved to Angel of Greenwood. It was a beautiful story, and parents really love. And the Spanish, we start with a series of Francisco Jimenez. We start with this Cajas de Cartón. This book is in English as well, but the parents in the English session decided to go first with this one and then introduce to another literature. So we were reading at the same time in English this book and in Spanish this one. And the following session, the English group moved with I Am Malala, where we learned a lot of the conversation was fascinating here with this book. And in Spanish, we continue with Francisco Jimenez, with Senderos Fronterizos, Más Allá de Mí. Beautiful books. From the three of these Francisco Jimenez, my favorite was Cajas de Cartón. and the connection and the old wounds that the community families help to heal was through these books. Then we move with the from the farm worker to astronaut, as I mentioned. This was the time when we did the presentation. I mean, the convocation here in Aldine, and we had the opportunity to meet him. And then we moved both groups. We decided to move with Sandra Cisneros, The House on Mango Street. This book was amazing, amazing. I don't know if some of you have the opportunity to read this book. I think it was in the past, it was in part of the literature in the high schools for the kids. I'm not sure nowadays, but in the past, because my son, when he was in high school, he read this book, but I never had the opportunity until we brought this book to the reading club, and it was extremely amazing. Every single session, you know how much we enjoy in both groups the sessions, and then they love the author that they say we want to keep with the same author. So we move with another book, Sandra Cisneros, which Martita, I Remember You. If this was heavy, this was extremely heavy. So the reading, the analysis, the deep of the conversation, the critical conversation that coming from here was very profound. um, then we move on with this one in English. They want like take a break from the analysis of this book. So we move to a small things like this. But the Spanish group, the Spanish speakers group, they decided to move with Garcia Marquez, Crónica de una muerte anunciada. This book was extremely heavy. Uh, Also, the conversation was very critical. Every single time that we finished the session, I was exhausted because the conversation of the parents was extremely amazing. And I just had the opportunity to meet one of the parents last week in one of our schools, and she told me, I am part of the reading club. And I say, what about, do you like it? And she, I love it, but I never was able to talk. And I said, why? She said, because I was crying every single analysis. I was crying. I want to say something, but I couldn't. And my husband always told me, why you are there if you are always crying? I said, because I'm learning something I'm using with my kids. So I'm from the story, from the characters, I'm learning how to change for the benefits of my kids. And now we're moving. Next week, we start our week with, again, Sandra Cisneros and this book, Caramelo, and parents are coming to pick up their books. We provide the books, by the way. They start coming to pick up the books, and I promise, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a nice journey. We're going to read this book for fall and spring, and I totally sure, 100% sure that it's going to be a wonderful journey. So if somebody say, well, how do you connect this with student achievement? Well, it's extremely important because parents learn how to read the world. So they teach the kids, because in every single conversation, we go back to the kids. Say, hey, when you have the conversation with your kids, explore this feeling, explore this character, explore this situation, explore, help them to explore, help them to see the world through the literature that they're using. So there's a lot of impact in our students' success. Then we move to this one. That's another one of my favorites, which is the cooking of good health. When I had the opportunity to contact the facilitators, external facilitators, as we mentioned at the beginning, you need to bring from everywhere to build the capacity from your community. You need to bring from everywhere. So when they came to us to offer these virtual cooking classes, say, well, this is not gonna work, because how, the same question that we always ask, how this going to impact the kids, right? So that's what my question. So I said, okay, let's gonna go ahead and start with 1 or 2 sessions, and then we move to 3 years of sessions. So in the Cooking Up Good Health, the chef, which is an international chef, because he is not here, I think he's from Bolivia or Ecuador or something like that, he connects and he teach us how to prepare something. I send the recipe in advance to the families. They are ready with the recipe. Some of them cook at the same time, some others cook later. But to make this more proactive or more beneficial for the families, we invite the Houston Health Department and they join us to the sessions. So wherever the chef is cooking and explaining about the ingredients or the food or the elements of the food or the elements of the food, the Houston Health Department support with the health issue about that food. So the conversation is really amazing. And I put this research about SODO that it said that a true family partnership provides a space for families to give input. So you need to, when you create your practices, you need to put like a check mark. Did I create a family space to provide input? Did I engage with them in conversation? Did I engage with them in conversations? If not, you need to put a touch cross in your box. If you did, put a check mark and build from family expertise. That's a very important to consider. True family engagement practices consider funds of knowledge. The elements that parents whatever they bring to the table, you need to consider. And this class provides this opportunity. I'm going to show a very quick, a short video. They sent me 2 videos, but I'm going to show just one from the chef.
We've been doing Cooking Up Good Health with Mr. Tamayo and Aldine ISD for over 2 years now, and we've had a great engagement with the families. We've come to know them, we've come to be part of them, to be part of their family. We've cooked together, we've had in-person presentations, but overall every session we have good turnout of people eager to learn about health and great recipes.
I'm sorry, but every single time that I share something, I have issues with these things that show up. Okay, so I'm gonna move on from here. And here's examples of how it looks virtually, the class. Some people are skeptical about this class because they say, well, does it work? Yeah, it works very well and creates good relationship with the parents. You know how the relationship is built through these classes. So create very good relationships. And what I love the most when the parents start sending the pictures of their own versions. This is a cook from one of our parents. This is another from our parents. And they send the picture, say, I'm trying to do the recipe, but I add something. That's the funds of knowledge. So when they start adding their own version, that's the fund of knowledge. So I asked them, how do you share this with your family? Well, my family helped me to prepare the food. My kids helped me to cut the ingredients. We put everything together. We had good conversation. We were doing the food and a lot of fun. So that's when you connect with your parents and with the community, and the parents with the kids, and the kids with the parents, and everything looks amazing. And I'm going to show you a test. I was short, because remember we talked about the beginning, the importance of feedback. So we collect feedback from parents, and I read this conversation from one of our parents, and I'm going to read very quick the part that I highlight. The information shared during the session regarding food insecurities is very relevant and many times avoided for those in power. Just look at the reflection of the parents are doing, the reflection the parents are having through this conversation, through these classes. If the food banks and church pantries are available, that's considered a solution. Providing food stamps isn't the answer. It's education that is needed. So when you have a practice that brings this reflection in your families, in your community, that is impactful. I think that's when you are saying, okay, this practice should stay here. So this is our reflection question for this practice. How can creating inclusive spaces like Cooking Up Good Health help families feel more secure and valued in their identities, especially when their voices have been historically overlooked? So that's the reflection question. Okay, so I'm gonna go on one of my favorites as well, the positive social change through our program, The Pathway to Become Bilingual. Adela?
Yes. So this has many moving parts to it. And I say many moving parts to it because every story, every participant has their own story. And we do our best to honor. So just glancing at the pictures, you can see that there is a family here who celebrated big, and we'll go, the celebration was about him being able to study and obtaining his citizenship and preparing for it. And there are many stories like that. I currently have a student who is participating, and he is actually being considered to become a manager within his workforce, but he doesn't want to. I guess he feels a little conflicted about his language and not being effective, not being able to effectively communicate with all of the employees. So he's taking time out of his workday to come to better his language so that he can feel confident to be able to communicate to everybody at work. There's many moving pieces to those stories, and how we create those relationships, how we get to know them is how we make a difference. So here we see where we build a bilingual community where parents understand possibilities for their future, where teachers conceive language not only as a linguistic system, but also as a social practice with experiences. They're organized and identities negotiated. So it's not just that we have a class where they come to learn language. There is far more, and as Mr. Tamayo calls it, the path to becoming bilingual, which I love. There are many pieces. I grew up navigating both worlds. Very quickly, I can tell you that as a young child, I recall being at the grocery store with my parents, with my mom, and my mom had the coupon that said save 25 cents off of a box of cereal. What she didn't know is that the fine print said that you had to buy 2 boxes of cereal to save 25 cents. And so I'm standing at the line, and the lady's explaining this to me, and I'm trying to explain to my mom, and my mom is telling me in Spanish, no, 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 we just have to buy a cereal. Why didn't she take off the 25 cents? And many more stories like that from my parents. My dad passed 2 years ago, and I continue to honor him and his teachings and his memories through giving these classes, because at the doctor's office, it was the same thing. They would explain to us, tell your dad he needs to take this at 2 o'clock, but it cannot be overlapped with this one. It needs to be taken with food, and this other one needs to be taken only as needed based on these symptoms. And I'm sitting there trying to understand everything and translate at the same time. But I'm thinking, if my parents only knew, if my parents only knew, they'd understand, and they would be able to navigate both worlds for themselves, for us, with confidence, without having to question everything, and be able to effectively get the 25 cents at the cashiers. So that for me is also just part of the passion. And so when we talk about a pathway to becoming bilingual, we talk about all of those things, and I carry them not just in my mind, but in my heart. How are we going to help transform those families that will also impact our students, that in the long run help to support, to make a difference for every student that crosses our pathway into our district and navigates through our system? I know you wanted to add to this one, Mr. Tamayo. This is that gentleman.
Yeah, that's another nice story about this young man who took one of our classes, the ESL class, and then he moved to obtain his citizenship. And when he passed, he was so excited. He contacted us. He let us know that he passed his test. And a week later, 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from his wife, and she told me, we're gonna do a party for him, and we really want for you to come. So I went to his home, and that's called relationships.
That is.
Relationships. I went to his home and look at his shirt, and he was so proud. His family was so proud. But when my wife and we get into his home, we were like a celebrities. So we were the person who is waiting for the celebration. And I said, no, it's him. He is the hero here. But they were so grateful because taking an opportunity that provide your district for the people to grow and explore opportunities for the future, for them is everything. And now how that could impact their children's and the children's success at a school, well, he has security now. He feels confident to navigate in this world, in this new world, because now he's a citizen. So he feels much more confident to move on from a different work, to move from a different place. So he feels much more confident. That gives security to their families and to their kids. And then also is a good role model for their kids. So the kids try to move in that direction, probably not be a citizenship, because probably they are, but they see a nice and very good model. So the question is, the reflective question, how can we move from traditional ESL programs to envision language as a social practice? How your ESL programs open opportunities for student futures. So I'm pretty sure that everybody here, or probably most of you guys, have a kind of ESL program. So that's something that you need to explore in your programs.
Yes, and I have a second reflective question as we are thinking about our traditional ESL programs in our classes. And there's a short snippet. If we can go ahead and play the short snip.
Where do you go on Tuesday?
Sometimes I go to the park. Where did you go on Fridays?
I always go to the gym on Fridays.
Why?
Because I like to go to do exercise.
Now, just really quickly, that is a short snippet of them asking each other. So we do a little bit of a structure where they ask a question, one answers, and then the one who answers poses a question so that the one who originally answered can answer. So it's kind of like a back and forth structured sentence, but I wanted to show you that those are based on their interests. So part of it also, it's not just me coming and having a plan, although we do have material, but we also want to get them the opportunity to communicate their interests and not just my agenda, not just what I want them to learn. It needs to be relevant to them. I will never know that they spend so much time trying to get a promotion at work or trying to build their health through exercise if I don't give them the opportunity to show their interest. So the reflective question here is, how can we elevate the instruction that we provide to our parents to engage them and build on their interests rather than ours? And on the next slide, you'll also see that as we looked at the iceberg, we know that there are certain things. We do need to make it fun. We do need to make it engaging. And so here's a short little snippet on the first video.
The town have seven trees. They are green. The symbol is yellow. The buildings are white.
You wrote all of those details? You wrote all of those details?
Yes.
Good, good. So that one is actually, I put a book in their hands and their first thought is, I can't read English. And my response is, that's okay. Tell me what you see. And when I came over, she had all of these sentences. And so I was searching for words that she knew that she could. And I was amazed at how much she was even more amazed at how much she was able to come up with the description of that book. She was able to talk about the trees and the buildings and the color. And we had a whole moment because it was a whole realization of a group of over 20 people when that was in the face-to-face class. They know more than they give themselves credit for. So that's one of the, but in the other one is, the other video is the fun one. So here we also include the engagement.
I'm sorry, Adela, you were speaking. Sorry.
Okay, go for it. Play it.
So sorry.
Oink oink here and oink oink there. Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a cow. E-I-E-I-O.
So I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on in that video. Yes, you hear Old MacDonald had a farm. Most of the parents are familiar or have heard some version of it. And if you look at the picture on the bottom right-hand corner, I had the words horse, pig, cow. I had the little play sets of all of these. And if you've ever seen ladies at a baby shower grabbing for the prices, as they were listening to the words being spoken, as they were deciding what they heard and identifying it either by object or by word. They were lounging to grab one, and you hear them in the background telling each other, you have one, you have one. And so that is part of just a fun little snippet to get them to also develop their audio. Their kinesthetic, their language, everything that we can do that we think outside of the box so that we can get our parents engaged, but also continue to build relationships with things that they are familiar with, like playing games. And so, of course, the question here is, how do you engage your parents? How do you continue to keep them engaged for becoming bilingual?
And here's some other testimonies from our parents. So this one, I said, I like the sentence, what I use in my day with my family when I go to the supermarket. This app helped me. I'm reading this highlight part. This app helped me to feel more segura or secure for use my English every day. So from here, I love from this testimony from our parent that she used in her day with her family that is at home. So now she can communicate and help their kids, but also when she is in connection with the world, when she go to the supermarket and she use and feel secure, which is important, give that confidence to our families when you are providing these pathways to become bilingual. This other parent said to write an email. So these lessons help her to be able to write an email, to write a bio. So look at about this. It's not just the language, as we mentioned at the beginning. It's not just the ABC or the structure, the past, the present, the tense, the future. We also are providing those elements that they're going to use outside the classroom. So writing a bio, job interview. I was amazed with this new opportunity in my life. So they considered their class like an opportunity for their lives. This person, he's working. He said, it's a little bit difficult for me to read the letter, but he said he works as a delivery driver, and I need to speak with the customers. Many customers speak only English, and now then he said I can have a conversation. So it's helping him at his work. For me, speaking English is very important because it helps me to integrate into the daily life in this country. So that's the connection, the sense of belonging. Because remember, this class gives them opportunity to have that sense of belonging because our communities live in isolation until they integrate to a community. So these sessions gives them that opportunity. Go to the supermarket, go to the doctor, ask for information. I have a better job opportunities. So we provided possibilities for their future. Now I working with 80% English in my American company. So I need more money, of course, and I like it. Learning English has helped me to connect with my community, the connection as well, help me to connect with my community. I can now communicate with my children, communicate with my children. Look, I can communicate with my children. I can also talk to the teachers. Here's the connection. So it's like, how do you connect this with the student's achievement? Well, the parents now finally they can connect with the teachers and of my kids, connect with the teacher of my kids to help them to improve in the school. Look at it right here, to improve in the school. I can now communicate better with my manager at work. And I like this one. This is the last one I have. So she said, el dominio del inglés, so performing well in English is for more effective communication. And she said, now I work for Aldine ISD district. And that's another thing that we have not mentioned, our program, our practices. I don't want to say program, our practices, not just here in the Family Community University, but in general in the Family Community Engagement Department in Aldine ISD is opening opportunities for our community, for our parents to come to our district and use their potentials as an employees. So this parent who is in this level of English, she applied for a position as a paraprofessional. She tried, she was rejected. She tried, she was rejected. She tried, she was rejected. In her fourth attempt, he got the position, and she's right here. Is one of our graduates with her babies, and she was highlighted for the Mayor's Office for Adult Education in one of our publications because one day I had opportunity relationships to talk with the people from the Mayor's Office and share a little bit about our community, our stories, and they say, okay, tell us who is this person. So I share her story and they made a publication. So that's part of the progress of our community and the positive social change. And I have this short video. I'm going to show you a very short piece of the video, how our community, our parents, our families are coming here with a need, a huge need. So I'm going to show very quick. And I'll show just one short clip.
No, but it's already, that's affirmative. He saw a lion. Now, negative. No, but past, he saw a lion. Are you going to use do or does, or what you're going to use? No, but this is present. You transform this sentence in past. What are you going to use to do it negative and interrogative? He saw a lion.
So not just the need to learn if it's past, present, what auxiliary need to use, they are in need to communicate with the world because that's the world they are living. So they are in need to communicate and support the kids and support better their achievements. Thank you so much. Thank you. And in behalf of our families here in Aldine, we appreciate that you were here listening to their stories. I always say that the best thing to share or present in a conference in any place is to share the stories of our families here in Aldine ISD. Adela, do you want any close?
Just very thankful as I join you in saying thank you, and thank you to everyone for making the time and giving us the opportunity to share with you what our district is partnering with everyone, because we are all partners in this to help our communities. So for that, thank you.
Thank you, guys. So with that being said, I'm back to you.
Perfect. Yvonne and Adela, thank you so much for sharing your information. I failed to mention at the beginning of this presentation that these guys were actually winners at our Parent and Family Engagement Conference in 2024. They were winners of our Anita Villarreal Innovation in Education Award, which is formerly our Promising Practice. And I know that you've heard their information today and you totally understand why they're winning, because they are doing great things with their parents and building their capacities to ultimately impact their families. So we have some time left, and we've taken some questions that were in the chat. So I will ask them, and I will let Mr. Tamayo and Adela address those questions. The first question is from Victoria Davis, and it says, what does your math and science night look like? Are the teachers showing a specific skill that they are teaching in their classroom and showing the parents how they can help their kids at home?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Victoria, for asking. I am specialist, district specialist. So I opened this opportunity for all our parents, these programs for all our parents district-wide. So I'm not specifically oriented to one particular school, but I'm pretty sure that the practices in our schools, the family night, the math night, one of the conversations that we have with our PFE clerks or the person who is representing our department in our schools is that before the events, any event, they have to make like a checklist where they evaluate the activity. So what are we going to be doing? What is the benefit? What is the goal? What is the purpose? What is the outcome? How are we going to track the participation? And what feedback are we going to receive? How are we going to collect feedbacks? So every single meeting or every single activity, well, I don't want to say every single one, but I think most of them, they tracking this activity to see the best outcome, to try to get the best outcome from the activity. Because remember, we're trying to move from traditional activities, and the math and science night, they are traditional activities. So we need to revamp, to transform, and make it purposefully, intentionally to get a product from that. So just to be sure that parents who attend receive something that they really can use at home with their kids, not receive a paper, not a worksheet, because that is not effective. They need to receive the knowledge, at least to be aware of when the test is coming and how they can help the kids. Something so easy that said the test is tomorrow. Be sure that he sleep well. Be sure that he have a good breakfast and encourage them for the test tomorrow. So very simple. So that's the parents leave the session with intention, with an activity, with a homework. So that's what we try to do in our activities. I'm not sure if I answered your question, Victoria, but
I'm happy to add because I have seen a few from the campus perspective. And so when we're asked about whether the teacher presents a skill or not, so that part does remain a little, as Mr. Tamayo shared, on the traditional side. But because we have the face representatives on the campus, the campuses that I've seen, as Mr. Tamayo is answering, that is correct. They do go and plan with that committee for the math night or the science night and try to make sure that the checklist has gone through, and either it is going to be engaging activities or it is going to be maybe some items for that grade level that the parent can walk away from. So those representatives on the campus are making a transformative difference for those family science nights and math nights, if that helps answer.
Perfect. The next question, and it's a couple of them, I think, is about your virtual reading club, which is incredible, by the way. And it mentions, it has two questions. What is a good book to start with? And then how do you get the books? You mentioned that you provide the books for the parents, but do you purchase them or are they donated?
That's Mr. Tamayo.
thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. I love our reading club with parents because that's one of the best way to create relationship with your parents. If you really want to create relationship, do it. And do a work a reading club in your campuses or in your school district. Well, the books, as I mentioned, we start with something very simple. And I don't want to say they are simple, the titles that we selected. I asked our director of um, libraries, I don't remember her title back on 3 years ago, but I asked him about a recommendation of a book for families that it would be interesting, funny, easy to follow, and he recommended for me those two titles. What's the granny cooking soup or something like that, and the other one is Spanish, Nacer Bailando. And Nacer Bailando actually has a version in English, but I decided to use his recommendation. So it was like easy for me to read, easy to analyze, because this elementary level book. So we start with something simple. So when you start getting into the knowledge of your parents, into the knowledge of their interests, their needs, you start moving a little bit more forward with the books, with the selection. And also I ask the parents, for the next reading club, what would you like to read? And some days start giving me recommendation. The second book that we read in the English session, it was a pickup from parents. They select their own book. And the books, we bought the books. We don't buy too many books. It's a limited edition, we said. Actually, for this one, we just bought 10 for English and 10 for Spanish, I think. But when I announced that we opened the registration and we oversee more people interested, we let them know that they are welcome to join us and they can get their own copy, and they do it. They get their own copy. So, and some of them just show up without book, because what is important here is the conversation. The conversation is what makes great the reading club. And we just title one for the books.
Perfect. Good answers. Okay. When you have an in-person event, where do you hold those events?
Our in-person events, as I mentioned, from our district, from this program, the Family University, we have two high schools, one elementary and one high school, that they very generous, open their doors for our families at night, because our classes are 6 to 8. So you need to start looking for in the buildings, trying to get a central location for all the families, and just have conversation with the principal. Sometimes it's not easy, but some of them are really eager to help. And yeah, they provided the building, they open the buildings, and that's the way that we do it. We don't have a central location where parents. We hope, that's our dream, to have our own building in one possible future. But at the time, we're using our facilities, our schools, as facility for parents.
Perfect. I think there's one more question, but before I get to that, if you have an additional question, if you'll just drop it in the chat, I'll be glad to answer it or ask it for you. Someone asked, this is actually a question for me. Sorry, I didn't realize that. It says, this whole presentation recording will be on the Parent and Family Engagement website, correct? She was wanting to share it. Yes, if you'll give us a few days, we will get it in our archives section, and it will be there. So yes, this presentation will be available. Okay, here's some additional questions. What about childcare? How do you handle childcare for these events?
That's a very good question, and I had a long conversation with one of my colleagues yesterday or Monday about the childcare. For our in-person classes, the pathway to become bilingual, which is the ESL classes, and the Spanish conversation class, we don't offer childcare. So we are very intentional to inform our parents, okay, this is opportunity for you, and make arrangements, because we really want your commitment to learn and to come to class. So unfortunately, we are not able to provide childcare. I know that some of our schools, they are very creative, and they offer like their own version of teaching ESL classes or any other class, and they, at the same time, they open in their classrooms a separate classroom for childcare. I know that, but district-wide, through this program, at this time we don't offer childcare, because for childcare you need more people, more budget allocation. There's so many things that you need to do. So this time we don't do it. However, you may say, well, it's not going to work then. But for us, I have been working for 3 years, almost 4 years, and we have people coming and making the commitment. I know there's some parents that say, well, I cannot because of my kids. So we offer the virtual classes because the program we have virtually. We have virtually for ESL, not for Spanish, but probably in the future we can open a virtual session for Spanish to learn Spanish for the parents.
Okay, perfect. Very quickly, because we're almost out of time. What about the caps and gowns? Is that something you guys provide, or is it something the parents have to purchase?
At the beginning, I think our first year, we received a donation from Caps and Gowns. So it was a huge donation. So we use, and then for our second year, we already had cap and gowns in stock, but I told the parents, if you want to use your son's cap and gowns, feel free to do it. I don't care about the colors. So use them and be proud of your kids' cap and gown. Some of them came with that. Some of them took our cap and gowns from stock, and that's we try to provide from our own local budget, I guess. I'm not really familiar with that part, but the rest, there are donations or parents are using their personal cap and gowns.
Perfect. I love that you just allowed them to use whatever. I love it.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't mind because institutions say no, it needs to be black, it needs to have a special color, the same. No, we say use whatever you want. Just
I
feel
love it. I
proud
think
and
it's so
happy.
representative of everyone's culture.